wish I didn't have done it. I'm praying on my bended knees. I wish I didn't have did it. If you know what I mean. I mean, I wish I shouldn't have said it. Words can be so unclean.
So what followed both sides of the tracks? What followed that? Did you? Because at that point, that body of work was put together with not a band technically. It was a duo. It was a partnership, and you had
very
guest
Steely
appearances.
Danish.
Right, guest appearances from many other people. So, what were your thoughts after that? I mean, that's an accomplishment. You made it to that tier. Yeah. What do you do after that?
Man, I'm really glad you asked that question because it's the first time it's been asked to me. Right. And believe it or not, the way I think as an artist and as a person, what followed was a lot of fear and insecurity.
Okay.
I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to match that kind of, call me superstitious, but that kind of creative integrity, that kind of outlet, you know, that we found on both sides of the tracks. Just
represented live or with the next album?
A new body, the next album. Next album. Like I was worried that, to me, I'm always a believer that you're only as good as your last great work.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that the work was great, or no, I'm not that kind of guy, but we got a lot of props for that album, you know, and it kind of started the whole Will and Phil and all that. And to this day, I was really worried that the follow-up would be a letdown, because I see that with so many artists. They come out with a great body of work and then it just falls off.
Well, the pressure comes on at that point.
Right.
But I think the saying is you have your entire life to write your first album.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like, oh, you have a very short amount of time to do better than you did.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely.
So for me, the success was wonderful in the moment.
Yeah.
But the writing process, the touring process, there's a lot of, like Phil said, pressure on you to live up to that same expectation, and life happens. And I'm a writer that kind of writes his own story through the life he lived. Mm-hmm. And a lot of dark things happened since then. And we're currently working on a new album called Ready to Ride. Mm-hmm. And we already laid down the tracks, we're shooting music videos, and I've noticed that this new record is gonna probably be the darkest installment of my career. There's a lot more rock elements, a lot more dark themes, you know, from the death of my brother, which naturally took a heavy toll on me. And just things that had happened from those days. There's just a different person sitting here that was not there in 2020. I'm a little wiser, but a little bit more roughed up a little bit. You know?
Yeah, it's still healthy. I think it's necessary. I don't think we can relate to life or stay grounded unless we have struggles, you know, that we come through positively, you know, on the other side instead of letting it all fall apart. So when was that first release? When was that first?
Ready to Ride?
Yeah. No. Both sides of the tracks.
2020.
Okay, 2020.
Yeah.
So following that, you said you were eyeballing maybe the difficulties you were going to face with the next album, but were there plans to, I guess it's kind of a crazy question because I mean we're in the middle of a pandemic, but was your intention to tour on that first album?
Yeah, the pandemic never stopped my dream. And when that happened, I just said, look, we're just gonna me and Phil talked about it, we're gonna do what we have to do during this pandemic, but we always were hopeful that this pandemic would end. Mm-hmm. So our goal was to build it up during the pandemic to where when the pandemic ended, we were out there touring.
And what does that mean? Build it up.
Build up our dreams and career.
Well, it's like we started attacking, like, say something like radio. You know, we started reaching out to every radio station we could, being like, look, people are trapped in, they have nothing to do but consume media of some sort.
Yeah. Sure.
So we started basically reaching out, being like, how can we get this in people's tiny little world while they're stuck inside? So we started making YouTube. I mean, Will made like a trilogy of YouTube videos for like music videos, basically where you follow one character through a couple of different things. So now it's almost like a music video mini-series.
Yeah.
You know, basically laying all this promo where people are always looking at screens.
Right.
How do we get on the screen so that when finally the gates open up and people are blinded looking at the sunlight poking through, you know, there's us.
Yeah, we were
the work.
Yeah, we were trying to build up the social media and the media in general to where when the pandemic ended, everybody knew who we were. Mm-hmm. Then we could start the touring process. You know? And like Phil said, we released a trilogy of videos that people were still constantly asking me, what that trilogy mean? And it definitely has a deeper meaning to it. But after the pandemic ended, that's when we really started touring a lot. That's when we started getting out there and moving around, you know.
Yeah, I think in a couple of years, you know, we look back on it. I think there was a New Year's. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like 2019 or something. But we played this tiny little Pioneer bar, super small up in Natchez, Mississippi. Rowdy parties. Place gets packed, but it's a smaller room. And we think back to that versus like over the couple of years, what we started doing, you know, community events like Music in the Park here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
We got to tour Europe last year. Last year we got to open for Alabama, like in Natchez, Mississippi. We just got back from Bangkok playing some shows. And we're like, this started with us
In a home, with an idea.
yeah, pretty much like in a home studio, making this giant record and pushing it out there. And basically, like, we can't go play. What do? Well, let's just do this. Let's just try and get
The
it to
ambition,
the world.
the ambition, it fits, you know. You can have a lot of ambition and not many opportunities, but you can have a little ambition and a lot of opportunities, and it's just not going to be the same result.
It's a balance.
You know?
It's a balance, you know.
That's incredible, man.
I keep telling myself it's the journey, you know?
Sure,
yeah.
sure. So once again, with the business aspect, at this point in time, after both sides of the tracks, and you've campaigned for a moment, and you want to try and get out, I guess, and greet the end of the pandemic with starting to perform live again. What elements are you doing yourselves, and what elements, I'll say, smart enough to dictate to others? Because a lot of times people want to take on everything themselves. They don't realize that delegating is a superpower. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that good question, you know, because it's like it started out with just me and you know, but as the pandemic ended and as we started touring, you know, we definitely had to start bringing in other people to help with the label, because, you know, it's not just me on the label, you're on the label, we're developing.
Yeah, it's a matter of expertise and trying to keep the circle tight with our friends in a sense. Because like going around this community, I think it was Rob Zombie who said, you know, like you could have 20 people that can sit with your band and play awesome with you and make you sound fantastic, and then there's like 5 that you could live with. You know,
Sure, or depend on, really.
Depend on. That's something I believe in.
Thing in this
Yeah.
industry, because people just flake out on you.
Absolutely.
For no reason.
He said it early on, that the kind of people that meet or match your work ethic.
Yeah, they have to be like-minded. That's a lot of people have asked, what is the dynamic between me and Chandler here? And I think that what it is that we have the same ambition and we think alike, you know, and that's what drives us to continue.
We're two opposite things in a sense. Like he is very much a people person, and I'm very much the backroom computer screens productions. To where like I realize where there are things, you know, such as I'm a pretty good audio engineer, but I know there are people who are way better than me.
Sure.
So I will get it to where I like it, and then delegate it to a fresh pair of ears and be like, you know, you do your thing with this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can talk to you on a technical level, but I'll leave it up to your expertise.
Yeah.
And especially on sound stuff. But I mean, we've been trying to get everything in-house as far as videos and all that kind of stuff, because nowadays the world is putting out constant content.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like the days of the album of working, you know, a whole year to have this one product, you know, in the modern age, it's like the internet.
Well, the product
It's gone.
expired.
It's a stone
It's
age,
gone.
yeah.
The
It's a stone age.
product itself, the relevance of the product expired. In other words, it doesn't behoove a band to produce a whole work.
No.
If you got 12 records on there, you release them as singles, because each one of those is a step up to bat for streaming playlists and all of these other things. It's just totally changed the face of the music world.
It's changed, and one of the things, the way we look at it is the singles come first. You release the singles, get your media, get everything up, and then probably an album on the back end. But it's really just strictly for selling merch out there on the road, you know.
Yeah.
We sell the merch, but really beyond that, it's really just singles and.
Yeah, I almost see it as an opportunity, just because like whenever because we're two songwriters. Like he does his country rock and I do rock on my end. But whenever we've been writing music and whenever I approach things, I always think of it from a singles point of view. Like, you know, I'm listening I used to deliver pizzas, and I used to listen to like all these oldies, like all the 70s and stuff. And I'm like, all these songs are super distinct and they have like their own like catch. There's nothing that sounds like this There's something that sounds like I'm Still Standing.
Right.
Elton John.
No,
It's just
that's
its
different.
own thing.
Yeah.
So now it's like, how do I bring this approach to my next song? You know, and it makes it almost a challenge for creatives to be like, okay, so my next thing has to be better than this.
Yeah,
My next thing has to be better than this. But what it also leaves is an opportunity to be like topical with your life in a sense if you're like, I got something I gotta get out there like right now. Something happened to me,
Sure.
and I really want to put it out there. You don't have to wait for like 2 years of production schedules to, oh, well, we gotta get all these songs out, and we gotta do all this.
It's rapid fire, man.
It's rapid
It's like,
fire, man.
Hear it straight from the heart to the record, you know.
What, so I want to eventually move on to the second body of work, but both sides of the tracks, you all start booking.
Yeah.
Is this you two working on booking, or are you using
At
a booking
first.
agent? Is you two at first?
Well, you know, there was a certain magic around that album because at first it just started off me and Phil. We were getting in every magazine around. We were getting in every newspaper around. We were just doing all this stuff. And then it basically got to where we started having some booking agents, small, you know, just doing some small work for us. Like we had a agent named Care out in Texas, and different people who were booking us around. James Gilly out in Knoxville,
Yep.
Tennessee.
And were they for the interest of the people that they knew, or you were running out of time for yourself to do the bookings, or what was the advantage of bringing in other
Expansion, you know, just kind of getting people out of the state.
It's easier to get people who know the lay of the land somewhere else because you can be somebody out of state and be like, hi, I'm this person that you may have never heard of.
They'll shut the door in your face.
Versus somebody who's like, hi, I'm from here. I probably put some other acts in your thing.
You heard me.
It's like, I've vetted these people out. You can put them under my name.
Sure.
They know the lay of the land. They know which venues are dangerous or not, or which venues
Yeah.
might pay or not.
Sure.
It's-
Yeah, and it eventually led, man. Like, it started off with a couple small agents. Then we got with a little agency that was booking us out, you know, in Florida and stuff like that. And then we ran into our manager from there. So, like, he just comes up one day. He's like, y'all are brilliant. He goes, well, we're like, are y'all managing? And we're like, well, we kind of manage ourselves because we got our label, blah, blah, blah. And we basically made a few conversations and kind of got working with our new manager. And he's been kind of putting us all over the world and stuff.
So he's managing and booking?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's basically one of those things where it's like, you know, okay, well, we started doing this. Oh, well, now some people are helping out. Now we're getting more opportunities. And then you just start meeting people. You just start meeting people on weird little gigs that
Sure.
you never thought you would meet anybody on. Like, we played a hotel in Florida.
Yeah.
And I remember we met our manager because he was partying at the bar. And he was like, let's go out to the beach and have a drink. I got to talk to you about some stuff. And I
Let's
was
be
like,
accurate, Phil. Let's go out to the beach and have a fifth.
Oh, yeah. Tennessee Jack hunting.
Man, what a night.
But it was
I remember
like,
half of it.
let's go talk business. And it's like, I don't know what's going to happen. He wants to have a conversation. And it ended up being something good for us.
Leave no stone unturned. Honestly,
Leave
you
no-
never know what's going to happen, man.
No, man, and what's really ironic is I don't know if you'll remember this band or not. We're going back to the 80s, man. But there was a band called When in Rome. They had a song called The Promise back in like 88 or 87. Well, our manager manages them, along with like Cutting Crew and different bands from the 80s. And the funniest thing is on this beach, we don't normally talk business, drinking, other conversations followed after, but I'll never forget the first thing that he said to me. He's like, my name is Brian. I'm with Central Palms. And I do not work with any country artists, but I'll work with you. And I went,
make an exception for you. Huh?
yeah, man. I looked at Phil. Me and Phil make all the decisions. And I looked at him. He goes, "Come on, talk." So I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, why me? He goes, there's something different about you. He goes, Axl Rose meets Dwight Yoakam. And I was like, okay. And he was like, call me Monday. Well, I thought he was just drinking and drunk, but I was like, I'm gonna follow what we call him. And that's when he started telling me, well, the next thing you know, I get a phone call months into him working with us, and he's like, I manage When in Rome, and I want you to meet the lead singer, and I heard the song. I was like, I remember that song, man. I've heard that song, for years. And he comes to me, and he's like, I want you to cut a country version of our new wave 80s classic, The Promise. And I'm like, A country version? We'll just cut it in a Will Wesley style.
Yeah, that was a fun phone call to get Will as the producer and somebody who has to shape this country version now.
Yeah, I call Phil and I'm like, Phil, we got to produce this song, man. You have to produce it and I have to do my best on it. So the first version we get him is like a goth alternative metal rock version of the song.
This is a la Dio.
Yeah. It's like, I promise you, and I get a phone call from my manager. He's like, the guitars are like Motorhead. He's like, the vocals, they're Dio. It's all these things. They hated it.
It just did not impress these 80s.
And I'm like, what are we gonna do? He's like, man, we were expecting a country rock thing. He was like, and you come out here, he's like, musically it's brilliant, not the brand we're looking for. I'm talking with Phil and I'm like, Phil, what are we gonna do, man? We gotta cut this, we gotta cut a music video. And all of a sudden he just out of nowhere goes, Will, there's only one thing we can do, man. And I went, what's that? He goes, turn it into a line dance.
Oh,
and I went,
honk the honk, the talk.
Yeah, I'm like, no!
Yeah.
But we hashed it out and cut a version of it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. We cut the version and I'm like, there's no way under the sky that they're gonna accept this version. They're gonna kick it. We may even lose our manager.
You know, right?
I was like, we may lose our manager. I send it off. Our manager calls back. He goes, Will, it's brilliant. It's exactly what we want. And I'm like, I like the metal version, but I don't care. We're releasing the country version.
You can't help that, man.
Yeah,
Give them
man.
what they want,
Give them what they want. So it's like, man, we're working on production and videos for that. That's coming out.
What was cool is the end of it was we had made this version, they liked it, and we actually not too long ago we went over to LA. They have a big 80s cruise.
Oh yeah.
Where all these people love to they'll go and dress all crazy and they got like Brett Michaels on it this year. All these 80s acts go on there basically play these private concerts. But when Rome was going and the guy who wrote the song was in the crowd and we got to play it for him.
Cool.
And he was like genuinely moved by it. Like he came up
tears.
to us and was like hugging us on stage and I was like, this is really cool.
That's awesome.
His
man.
very
You can't
words,
argue
this is
that.
going to help with my career as well. And I got to tell you, man, that's a really big compliment because I'm gonna put it out there to everybody. I was scared to death to do a line dance version of this new wave 80s song. And when I'm looking at all these people like with 80s gear on line dancing out there, I'm like, but man, it worked. And he comes up there, he's like, brilliant, man. And I'm like, I got a metal version, don't want it. Country.
That's
I'm like,
so crazy, man. Just let it happen. What are you gonna do?
I looked at Phil, he's like, just shut up and play the song. Take it all the way.